Now it's time to sew our ends together, the bottoms of our liner and our main fabric. So before I began doing this, you can see I've already got it pinned. I didn't think there was really any need for you to watch me pin yet again. But before I pinned, I reached into the middle here and I undid my zipper. So the zipper opening is here, and this is where my zipper pull is. All of this is open in between. That's going to be important later. If you don't do that, you will regret it. It'll make your life really miserable later, not to say possibly impossible. Okay, so for the bottom of the main fabric, all you do is sew a straight line all the way across. 1/2 inch seam allowance like we've been doing all along. That one is super easy. So I'm going to do that right now. Get myself set up with my 1/2 inch seam allowance. Plant my needle down into the fabric. And at this point, I'm going to take out that first pin because the presser foot and the needle, oops, the presser foot's not down yet. Ha! The presser foot and the needle are holding things in place. I'm going to go forward a little. And I'm going to back up and go forward again. That's tying that knot. And of course, we remove the pins along the way. We do not sew over pins. Some people will tell you you can sew over pins. I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's an invitation to a broken needle. Okay, and I'm going to go nice and slow now that I'm approaching the end. Do a couple hand turns. And now I'm going to back stitch a little and go forward again. All right, so that is the bottom of the main fabric all sewn up. Now the trick with the liner is that you can't just sew all the way across it. Otherwise, you will never get your pouch turned right side out. So at this point, all along, we've been sewing with our right sides together. So they are inside here, and all of this is our wrong sides. At some point, we want to be able to see the right sides again. That's the whole point of that. So what we need to do here is we need to leave a turning gap when we sew up the bottom of the liner. And then we're going to be able to reach in and turn this whole pouch right side out when we're ready to do that. Annoyingly, that's not actually the next step immediately after doing that, but it's coming soon. So what I'm going to do is I've marked 2 little chalk lines here to remind myself, and I'm going to do 2 stitch lines here, one from there to there and one from here to here. And if ever you want to be super careful that you do your back and forth stitching at the beginning and end, this is that situation, because when you are turning, you are going to be putting some stress on the edges here. Okay, so if you haven't done the back and forth to kind of effectively tie a knot, you're likely to unravel your work. So you don't want to do that. So here we go forward a bit. And oops, I've got the wrong seam allowance. So I am just going to, because I went too narrow, I can just cheat a little bit. I'm going to bring this up. I don't care that that's not tied off because I don't want to keep it. I'm going to tear it off. And like I said, if this was too wide, I would tear it all out. I don't need to bother because this is just going to end up inside the seam allowance. But I'm going to remind myself that I'm looking for a 1/2 inch seam allowance, and I'm going to move over here and line up for that. Okay, and we'll try that again. Forward, back, and forward again. I'm going to take out my pin, and I'm coming up to my reminder line. So here I'm going to back up, come forward again, and I'm going to cut and leave a gap there. Okay, so there we go. I didn't stop exactly on my line. If you look at this, you can see that my stitch line stops a little bit ahead of that. That's fine, it doesn't matter. And now I'm going to come over here, and remembering my 1/2 inch seam allowance, I'm going to line myself up to start at my second reminder line. Okay, plunk in the needle. I'm going to come forward a bit, backwards and forward. threads again with that 1/2 inch seam allowance, and we're going to come out to the other end. Sewing nice and slowly as we get to the edge and switching over to using our hands, and then back up and forward again. There we go. So now I'm going to pull my work away and show you what I've got. Okay, so you can see the seam pretty clearly here, and you can see that I've left a hole and that I did that on purpose. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to clean up some of these loose threads with a pair of snips, and I will be ready for the next step. Thank you.